Hello to my water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Welcome to the Pisces new moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising signs listed below. Hello Cancer Rising, welcome to your reading for the Pisces new moon, happening this Sunday on March the 10th at 8:02 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So I think I've got them published just in time. However, I do also have a whole list of transits that are going to lead us into Aries season. So as much as we've got a couple of days before this lunation, there's also a lot of information in this reading leading up to the 20th of March. So stick with me. Grab a seat and let's speak about Pisces first of all. Let's speak about what we know about the mutable water sign. So your energy is all about initiation and protection. When I think about Cancers and their access to their emotional selves and to their want to nurture and care for other people around them, by the time we get to Pisces in the zodiac, we reach mutable water because the sign gives way to the next weather, the changing of the seasons. And Pisces is ocean, limitless depth of feeling and of empathy, of kindness, and also of melancholy. There's something really self-sacrificial about Pisces that you can probably recognize in folks that you know that have those placements. There's something that can be wildly frustrating about their split in persona. Sometimes their emotions can run hot, they can run cold. Sometimes they can be incredibly present, sometimes completely dissociated. If you think about the depth of the ocean and the unknowable ecosystems and worlds that live below the ocean's surface, can start to really get a handle on the depth of Pisces. In tarot, it's the moon card that speaks to Pisces. And we would think that this would be one of your cards, wouldn't we, Cancer? However, when looking at the two animals that are baying to this moon and looking at the emerging energy, the creatures of the deep coming to the surface by the light of the full moon, there's something of shadow work that we're doing here. There's something really, really quiet and mystical, and there's a choice that's being made here as well. There's a dog and there's a fox that is baying to this moon. There's a wild animal and a tamed good boy. This card speaks to the idea that we are consistently in battle or in conversation with those creatures that sit within us. Pisces sometimes wants to smash it all up and swim away, run away, leg it, get out of here. With the right support, they know that they are welcome here, and they know how to put healthy boundaries and containers around that empathy so as not to get swamped by it. What I love about the imagery of this card is that it's speaking to the current astrology right now. So the sun and the moon are at 20 degrees of Pisces at this lunation. On one side, they're being flanked by Saturn, the ringed one, the one of boundary and container and lessons, the one of obligation. And so you could probably maybe recognize the dog in Saturn's energy at this moment. There's something of a leash, there's something of training that Saturn is trying to bring to Pisces. On the other side of the lunation is Neptune. Neptune is the grand magician, the illusionist, the great deluder sometimes. Neptune actually is the modern ruler of Pisces, so that magical connection there is something really strong. However, there's probably something a bit wilder and a bit more animalistic about Neptune, instinctual. And so right now, this lunation, when it becomes exact, is dealing with these two opposing forces, these two geysers, these two archetypes that are sort of tugging at Pisces to and fro. Come with me, come away. Let's slip out of here, or let's stay here. Let's learn, let's train. You see? By looking at your birth chart, Cancer rising, Pisces rules your ninth house, which is your access to traveling, to grand adventure, to the way that you put down your life lessons onto the page and you share them with other people. You publish what you know. You seek out a mentor in the ninth house too. This could mean many different things for you, Cancer rising, but what is kind of really sincere in this current moment for me is that there is a conflicting force within you at the moment that is like, I'm going to stay the distance, I'm going to do the training, I'm going to stick to this process, or I'm going to throw it all in the bin and leg it, hoof to the next town and get the F out of here. You're not alone in that feeling right now. If we can use Pisces as a conduit that connects all of our emotions, and we can connect our overwhelm together through Pisces too. So if it's overwhelm that you're feeling at this new moon, Cancer rising, that's okay, I've got you. But remember that there is opportunity here with Saturn in Pisces. Saturn has been in Pisces since last year, March of last year, and we're going to be working with this feeling of the leash until next year, until 2025. Neptune, the fox, the wild one, has been in Pisces since 2012. And when they leave next year, in 2025, they'll never come back. So 2012 until 2025, when you think about the magic that can happen when you expand your mind, or think about the vocabulary that you've been developing as far as your ability to self-soothe and to emotionally regulate and to be kind to those points in life when you feel completely overwhelmed because of something that smells more like the fox, that smells more like instinct and magic. These are all really great things to write down. If we use the energy of a new moon to sow a seed, then this is what I want you to do, Cancer rising. I want you to commit to your writing practice. I want you to commit to your fearlessness when it comes to seeking out information and teachers. I completely understand the feeling of unsafety in the greater world at present. I can feel the urgency to close the windows, shut the door. What I would resist is disappearing into the screen. And that's something that you're not alone in having to battle with. It's something that I am committed to shaking off. I know the paradox of speaking to you through the screen as I say this too. However, this lived experience, this real world is crying out for us. Nature is crying out for us to be a part of it again. Our human relationships will benefit from actual face time, from skin-to-skin contact. You know this more than anybody, that physical touch is like therapy. And that the more that we can interact with one another, face-to-face, journey to find one another, the happier we will be. Now, after all of this, I wanted to go through this list of transits. So the day before this new moon, so on the 9th of March, Mercury, the planet of information and messaging that has been having a terrible time in Pisces these last 3 weeks, has added to a lot of that confusion, or perhaps a bit of that writer's block, is going to meet up with Neptune, the fox, the magical one, and is probably going to have something that feels really inspiring, but probably a little bit untrustworthy or unstable. So that's a bit of an instability already. As the day ticks over, we head into the 10th of March, and then Mars and Uranus will form a very hard square. And so a square between Mars and Uranus is always really difficult. We pray for peace at this time. Uranus is in Taurus in your 11th house of the human species, your friendship groups, your sense of humanity. And Mars is in your 8th house of your contractual obligations to souls in this planet that you have obliged yourself to. A square is really difficult, but we're going to feel the rupture. It might not be in our personal lives. It might be something on the grander global scale. This is the same day as the new moon, so stay with me. Then Mercury is going to be leaving Pisces and heading into Aries. So your 10th house, your most public-facing, visible self. This is the part of the chart that is going to be experiencing eclipses this year as well, which we'll talk more about. But Mercury there has more confidence. And so there might be something that you can carry with you from the instability of Pisces into something that feels like a clearing with Aries. And you can stand in your public-facing world and be like, okay, I think I have the info. Then the new moon will happen. So then we have the sun and the moon, and we have Saturn, and we have Neptune. Opposing forces, but hopefully with a bit of synergy, they can lead us forward. Then on the 12th of March, Venus will be entering your 9th house, your house of the gods, where you publish and travel. Venus is a protective amulet, a sacred femme symbol that teaches us all about the importance of art, the importance of beauty, the importance of love. And for 3 weeks, we're going to feel almost like, I don't know, a Mary Magdalene type feeling. I have read bits of the Bible and I'm reading more of it. And I think that those stories, those fables, as with all of the other stories and mythologies that we work with in these horoscopes, I think there's room at this time for a bit of feet washing, a bit of healing. When I think of it, just that seems quite strong to me. Venus in Pisces does feel quite Mary Magdalene. There, I said it. So for 3 weeks, we're going to be experiencing a bit of this soothing. Then on March the 17th, the sun will conjoin, meet up with Neptune, meet up with the fox, meet up with the mystical one. So there's going to be an emphasis on magic, Cancer rising. And then on March the 20th, the sun enters Aries and we start Aries season. We start the new year of the zodiac. We start this round afresh. So if New Year's didn't feel particularly inspiring, that's okay. If the Chinese Lunar New Year, you found it difficult to start it, that's okay too. Let's use this moment as a changeover. Let's use this moment as stepping into the light, stepping into the freshness of being, turning the page. The day after that happens, Mercury will meet up with Chiron, that wounded healer in your 10th house, your most public-facing self, your career, your legacy. Remember, this is the year that we're going to be focusing on why you have this latent feeling that you failed. You've not failed by any means, Cancer rising, and this astrology is urging you to realize that and to realize why. There's messages that Mercury will bring. There's information that will aid this healing work. A lot of healing in this reading, Cancer rising. I kind of like it. Mary Magdalene seems to be with us. I'm going to get you some tarot. I hope that wasn't too much information. What I'd encourage you to do is you can pause it, backtrack, grab your little diary and just write down these dates and just whatever words that I've said that come into mind for you that you're like, okay, I can look forward to this. Because I can imagine as we all are working with Piscean energy at present, we're in this season, and Pisces does include all of us. We all have Pisces in our chart somewhere. Yours is in the 9th house if you're a Cancer rising. Yours looks to me like a magical quest. If I'm honest with you, for folks with Pisces in the 9th house, their great journey is magic. Ain't it the truth? This is Marie Laveau. I think that we've been speaking about her for a little while, you and I, Cancer Rising. Stop me if you've heard it before. But Marie Laveau was the queen of voodoo. She was a great healer, much respected in her community. And in this version of the tarot, she's emblematic of the Hierophant, which is number 5 in the Major Secrets, one of the high holy people that the Fool comes to meet straight off the bat. The Fool is met with spirituality quite early on and takes the rest of the tarot to incorporate that into their knowledge. But if we're looking at this figure of Marie Laveau, if we're looking to someone who devoted their lives to spiritual practice and study and who put it into practical use for her community, who was a great healer, a great soothsayer, a great magician, then what I really enjoy about your progress to this point, Cancer Rising, is that you have been working with some intellectual container. There are things in your life that you've had to really strategize and you've had to really find the higher ground intellectually, because your mental health above everything is really, really, really valuable and really important to maintain at this time. You know, with your beautiful porousness, your kindness and your compulsion to nurture those in pain, you also know that there is something of a boundary that needs to be maintained around your mental faculty. And with that sound mind, the fire, the magical messages have been coming through to you quite strongly. And so through this turbulence, and the astrology is testament to the idea, can give us context for the turbulence in our life at present, in our culture, the pain that we can feel on behalf of others and for ourselves, and honor that pain. The astrology is saying, let's really work with the King of Swords, the one that has that ability to rationalize, the ability to allow feeling, and to also allow space to describe and remember that the body keeps the score, and we can work through our trauma. When met with situations that remind us of times when we were incredibly unsafe, our body can really, really show us that. It can really start to hurt or be so anxious because we feel that we're back there. But this is this is part of your life's work, I think, too, Cancer Rising. This is something that you've really been working on, and probably something that you can share with other people when you're ready. But this Pisces new moon, I'd like for you to, this is big shoes to fill. This is someone that we all must respect through and through and very wholeheartedly. There's no comparison here, but there is something about your knowledge that you've been gathering since birth up to this point that is valuable too. And so maybe this moon might be an evening to respect that, Cancer Rising. I love you. If you're still here with me, please put a mermaid in the comments in honor of our Piscean friends, yourself included. Thank you for being here with me. I am going to be thoroughly examining and preparing us all for eclipse season. So at the next lunation, it will be a Libra lunar eclipse. And so we've got to maintain our health at this time. If we link the astrology, then we do indeed link this full moon eclipse in Libra back to October of last year. And so there's much to unpack and much to be kind with. If you'd like me to read your birth chart, head to my website, umaruby.com. I will draw you one. They look like this, and I will read it to you via Zoom. You can make an appointment, book the spirit reading at umaruby.com. If I have read for you before and you'd like to see me again, head to the Back for More tab, and you can book a magic, a truth, a growth, a love, or a femme reading. There's 5 options there for return customers. You can support my work at buymeacoffee.com. You can throw some money in the tip jar there, or if it's in your budget, you can subscribe for 10 Australian dollars a month to keep me going here in horoscope world. Much love to you, Cancer Rising. As I said, I will be here with you in full preparation for eclipse season. I'm unsure of what that looks like yet. I'm thinking diversify this structure of horoscopes. Perhaps if you are still here with me, give me some ideas of how you might like this work to evolve. I want to grow as time goes on, and I don't want to fall into some sort of pattern when there is opportunity for growth. So if you've got suggestions on how to expand, I'd love to hear them. Much love to you, and I'll speak to you in time for eclipse season. Take care, Cancer. Hello, Scorpio Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Pisces new moon happening this Sunday on March the 10th at 8:02 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So I've got there just in time. And I've also got a full list of transits leading up to Aries season, because we're kind of needing to stick by one another as much as we can over the next months, astrologically speaking. And as best I can, I'd like to voice to you what it is that I know. Oh, that was my stomach, excuse me. So, Pisces on your birth chart rules the 5th house, which is where we express ourselves, where we make art and create pleasure in our lives. When thinking about Pisces as a water sign like you are, Scorpio, we come to the mutable side of life. We come to when the weather of the season gives way into the next. There's something of a release here whenever we speak about mutable signs, which are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. So the fixity of your ability to hold the space, to hold the intensity of emotion, to sit with people and connect with them and absorb their feeling. Pisces does the same thing in a way that feels like the ocean. There feels like a push and a pull, an ebb and a flow and a depth beyond measure in Pisces. There's something really magical I'd like to emphasize about Pisces, particularly in this era of our lives. But I'll get there in a minute. I'll show you the tarot card, and this might make a little bit more sense to you as far as the same and different and altogether wonderful parts of Pisces. And do remember that every sign of the zodiac is a part of you too, Scorpio rising. Scorpio was rising on the eastern horizon when you first took your first breath, and so therefore that gives the signs their houses. But every sign, you are an embodiment of every sign, particularly in the way that you creatively express yourself. But look at this card. It's the moon in tarot that we speak to when we speak about the essence of Pisces. There's something of a cloak of darkness here. There's something about a trepidation here, but there's something about animal instinct that is irresistible in the moon card. There's something about the way that that beautiful guiding light in our sky has us react. If we want to or not, if we're conscious of it or not, the moon moves our emotional ecosystem. This is why I focus on the moon in my horoscopes too. There's two options here, Scorpio rising. There's a dog and there's a fox. There's a wild beast and there's a good boy on a leash. Both beautiful, both worthy of love, both incredibly instinctual. However, one is working with some sort of container and the other one is working on sheer instinct. You can see there's also things emerging from the deep too, which is probably ringing your bell quite sincerely, but there's things that are coming up from beneath the surface at this light of the moon. This is all in Pisces. Sometimes they can appear a little a little too kind or a little too optimistic, and they can feel a bit wet behind the ears sometimes and impressionable. But you've got to remember, all the while that is happening, there is the ocean beneath, and there is this moment to react and to create. So when looking at the astrology of this current moment, I can't help but look at this card and help us describe it. So the sun and the moon will be at 20 degrees of Pisces at this lunation on Sunday night. And this is the moment for you to sow some seeds about your creative potential, about where you want your art to take you, where you want the pleasure in your relationships to take you. On one side of the sun and the moon is the planet Saturn, the great container, the one with the boundary that we've been working with since March of last year. So think about your creative work and think about what structures or what rhythms, what routine, what rehearsal you've been needing to commit to. Because on the other side of the coin, the other side of that leash is Neptune, the fox, the wild one. Neptune in Pisces is potent magic. And we've been working with that since 2012. And when Neptune finally leaves Pisces next year, we won't experience Neptune in Pisces again in our lifetime. And this isn't to load this moment, current moment, up with a lot of obligation. But if we're working with this astrology in your creative house where you express yourself, where you create art, Neptune, the grand illusionist, is beckoning you with their magic, beckoning you back to the studio perhaps, beckoning you back to the bedroom with your lovers. There's something here that is incredibly magical. And so you can see there's a split for this lunation. There's, will I go this way? Will I go the way of the fox? Will I go the way of the dog? What I love about this imagery is that the choice needn't be made one or the other. And this is what Pisces can sometimes have a difficult time with. They're either all out or all in. And so maybe you can relate that to your creative practice too. Maybe when the inspiration hits, you're all in and there's no stopping you. The blinkers go on and you focus and you do it. Or you feel so detached from it that everything feels like it's just fallen out of favor. Every talent that you had, you judge, you criticize. Every relationship that you have enjoyed, you second guess. It's temptation to run away when the world outside feels so unsafe and unstable. There is massive temptation to run to safety. Pisces knows about that too. Let's just swim to safety if we can at all find it. The trick is to find the safety inside of you and to work with what Saturn is offering at this time. Saturn in Pisces happens every 30 years. The last time was 1993, and now we're having its second coming. For some it's out the third coming. But you understand what I mean. It's a special moment too. And to have Saturn and Neptune both in Pisces is really urging me personally to commit to my magic, to commit to this way of thinking, this way of being, but to learn the rules. So as much as you want to throw it all in the bin, Scorpio Rising, unfortunately, you're being discouraged to do that. You're being encouraged to journey deeper. Excuse me, that happens sometimes when I'm on a roll. So, this is kind of the focus that I'd like for you to have over the next coming weeks, Scorpio Rising. And I'll tell you why. The day of this new moon, the day of this moment of inception where we sow the seed in our creative work, before this happens exactly, Mars and Uranus are going to be forming square. And so Mars is in your fourth house of your home, your root structure, and Uranus is in your relationship zone, the other, your lovers. Uranus is bringing some feeling of wanting to rebel, and Mars is bringing a lot of aggression. And so a square between those two forces can feel quite violent. It can feel quite overwhelming. You might not feel this in your personal life. This might be something that we all need to bear witness to and try and help with on a global scale. But on Sunday, I would like for you to keep in mind the health of your relationships and the health of your root structure at this time. What are you pushing back against? What are you pushing away from? Is it yourself? Are you wanting to, in that classic Scorpio way, burn everything and rise again? Or is there something that we can work through with this? Because then Mercury enters Aries, free of that sort of confusion in Pisces. The last 3 weeks may have been a little bit of a stoppy-starty, difficult time for you to find the inspiration and keep it. We know that Mercury hates it in Pisces, but right before this new moon, they leave and enter Aries. And then the new moon happens, and then on March the 12th, Venus, the planet that brings inspiration, that brings beauty, that brings bounty, that brings pleasure, enters your fifth house of all of those topics. So for 3 weeks preceding the 12th, we're going to feel touched by something like inspiration, I promise you. It's hard in this life, especially if you're a creative individual, to feel connected to the outside world when your internal world is so conflicted. And there is a impulse to burn everything around you to the ground and to start again. I understand that. But these are just questions for you, Scorpio Rising. Are the people in your life loving and protecting and supporting you in order for you to re-find that creative inspiration? And what responsibility do you have with Saturn in the fifth house to commit to process? Pisces sometimes gets overwhelmed because there's so many options in front of them and there's so much information running through them that it's kind of sometimes really difficult to land on just one, or even to see through that confusion. It becomes just a swathe of inspiration, or you're washed over with the limitlessness of life. And that's just a road to complete dissociation. And this feeling that you've been having, Scorpio Rising, of feeling shut out or ostracized or not welcome, not invited, is coming to some sort of resolution. And I think that if you quantify your entire worth on your creative output, on that artist block being a ball and chain or a shackle, I completely empathize with you. However, I would like for you to really think about Saturn at this time. Think about March of last year to this point, moving into the future. Saturn won't leave Pisces for another year or so. And so we're working with this container. We're working with this rehearsal room. We're working with this as a structure for us. And our creative world, our fifth house, our creative expression, unfortunately, it can't overwhelm our entire lives. This is a part of our chart. It's not the whole thing. And so the Four of Pentacles here, I'm reminded of Capricorn. I'm reminded of Saturn with the Four of Pentacles at this time. I'm reminded of the dutiful nature of your being, how you can stick to task and how you can multitask and how you can devote this amount of energy to that thing and this amount of energy to that thing and contribute and maintain the health of your relationships too. This Mars and Uranus square looks pretty confronting, and I wish for you a happy life, and I wish for you to feel the connection in your relationships. And I also wish for you to feel a clearing moving forward, Scorpio Rising. I wish for you to see the offer and take it. It doesn't happen all the time that we're gifted an opportunity like this. And also, it's just a gift. It's just an offer. It's up to us to take it and to do something with it. I want you to thrive. And I'd love for you to reacquaint yourself with the Venusian principles of life. Art for art's sake, pleasure for pleasure's sake, the healing potential of these concepts and how that healing can be spread around and provided to the folks in your relationships too. Because they love you and they want the best for you. Much love, Scorpio Rising. If you're still here with me, please put a mermaid in the comments. I would be very appreciative of that. If you'd like me to read your birth chart, head to umaruby.com and I shall draw you one and I shall read it to you via Zoom. You pick the spirit reading. If I have read for you before and you'd like something else, go to the Back for More tab and choose a magic, a truth, a growth, a love, or a femme reading. There's some reading prompts there and some collages that I made to see if there's something that tweaks your interest there. You can support my work at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. You can throw some money in the tip jar there, or you can subscribe for 10 Australian dollars a month. I'd love to get your insight on how to expand this work to Scorpio Rising. So if you have suggestions as we move into the new zodiac year of how much you'd like to see me or what you'd like to learn about in your chart that I can publish here on my channel, do let me know, because I'm in the mood myself for a bit of renovation in my practice, in my creative work. Much love to you. I will look forward to speaking to you in the lead up to eclipse season. So remember, Aries and Libra are the places where we're going to be experiencing eclipses this year. And we're going to be recollecting some very difficult history, very difficult recent history. And we're going to be using this work as context for our lives and as a moment to be kind to one another and to talk about it. So I look forward to that, Scorpio Rising. I'll speak to you very soon. Hello, Pisces Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Pisces new moon, happening on March the 10th, which is this Sunday at 8:02 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Apologies for my tardiness, but I think I've got these published just in time. I also have prepared for you a list of transits that are going to lead us into Aries season. Right now, we're in the thick of Pisces season, and you can probably feel that extra emphasis on our emotional ecosystem. Your empathy is probably ringing through your ears right now, and there might be a bit of a push and a pull, two different pathways that you're wondering which one to take, or it might also feel really claustrophobic, so much that you want to press detonate and just self-sacrifice and get out of here. If that's how you've been feeling at the moment, you've got my full support, and I've got some kind of context for us that we can work with moving forward to something a little bit sweeter. So at a new moon, Pisces Rising, we get to go internal. We get to have a think about what it is that we might be here for. We get to think about our spirit, our soul, our magic. Pisces is the ocean. Pisces is mutable water, which means it gives way to the next season. And also, in a traditional structure of the zodiac, it gives way to a new beginning. Pisces is the ultimate sacrificial lamb, the endpoint, the lessons hopefully learned in this lifetime. There's a lot of magic that I'd like to summon back into your stratosphere, Pisces rising. I'd like to remind you of your power. So often, a Pisces can feel powerless or feel overwhelmed, overcharged with everything that's going on around them in the greater world, in their lives, their personal lives, and also in their internal world too. Remember, there's those two fish. One wants to swim that way, one wants to swim that way, but they're bound by something like a silver cord. They're bound by commitment. They're bound by a pact. If there's a duality in your nature, Pisces rising, I fully respect and understand that. The tarot has a lot to teach us about that duality. In the major secrets of tarot, it is the moon that we look to when we want to speak about Pisces, when we want to speak about the kind of resonance of the sign. In pictures, it's the moon itself. And so here, there's something that looks like trepidation. There's something that looks like possible danger and a moment where you really need to use your instincts. You can see that there's two creatures there baying to the moon. One of them is a fox, the other one is a dog. There's options here. What I love about this card and the way that it can, for some, be terribly frightening, for others not so frightening. There's something about a veil of darkness that some of us enjoy. It kind of feels like an invisible cloak sometimes too, where we can move around the world as we are, but with a barrier of protection. This is something about the moon card that I really hold quite dear, and it really helps me through some trickier spots as well. What I'm looking at in this duality, though, is really being echoed in the astrology right now. So the day before this new moon in Pisces, which is an evening that I'd love for you to take to yourself. I'd love for you to take to your journal. I'd love for you to really enjoy your dreams on this night, Pisces rising. If at all possible, take this moment in solitude, take this moment in some sort of contemplation with yourself. But the day before, on the 9th of March, Mercury, the planet that brings with it information and messages, will be conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So we know that Mercury has been causing a scene in Pisces over the last 3 weeks or so. Mercury doesn't like it in Pisces. They're out of step. They're not at home. And what I've been feeling and what possibly I can see in the bigger picture is a lot of confusion. There's a lot of feeling that's happening at the moment, but confusion as to what is the truth or not. There's something that feels like a bit that the wool's been pulled over our eyes, or people are searching for the truth, or people are sort of being offered the truth, as it were, or offered information, but they're having a difficult time trusting that. And so the day before this new moon, if Mercury is unstable messaging in conjunction with Neptune, who does bring with it a lot of delusion, sometimes beautiful magical illusion, but oftentimes it can be a bit unsafe, then we're kind of entering into this new moon already unstable. On the 10th of March, before the new moon is exact at 8:02 p.m, if you're in the southern hemisphere with me, Mars is going to square Uranus. Now, this is switching houses, but we're looking back to Aquarius in your 12th house of your unconscious world, and Taurus, where Uranus is, in your 3rd house of the goddess, of your village, your neighborhood. A square between Mars and Uranus is always conflicted. It can be really rough. There can be a rallying cry with this formation, but there might be a bit of danger that we can sense. So already there's that sensitive, it feels like we're being pounded at the moment, doesn't it, Pisces rising? It's like, how much longer do you need to friggin' flog this meat, you know? Like, I'm tenderized. Give me a break. We're going to work with that. We're going to acknowledge that. Then we're going to recognize that Mercury, the messenger, will be free from Pisces on that same day, on the 10th, and will be entering into Aries. So there's something that is much brighter and more self-assured with Mercury in Aries. And then the new moon will happen. So the day after this new moon, in fact 2 days after, then we have Venus enter Pisces. And so for the next 3 weeks from the 12th, there's going to be something that feels like a protective talisman. We're going to be working with Venusian energy quite a lot, Pisces rising. Venus loves it in Pisces. There's going to be a great period of time where we can pick up the pieces after whatever may happen with that square on the 10th, on the day of the new moon, and we're going to roll with Venus as our protector. We're going to really summon that sort of that femme power. We're going to do our glamour spells, and we're going to cast that net around us to take care of us. Now, this new moon on the 10th is flanked, like the card, by two opposing forces or two very disparate energies. Neptune has been in Pisces since February 2012. So this is a long story, but Neptune is soon going to leave Pisces next year on March, I think, of 2025. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime transit that we've been experiencing. If you can quantify or chalk up the magic that has occurred in your essence, in your being, think about the ways that your intuition has protected you over the last decade and a bit. And I think that there's probably going to be a great deal of thanks that we can offer Neptune. In modern astrology, Neptune is the planet that rules Pisces because they have that relationship, both of them, with illusion, with magic. So for Pisces placements, Neptune is a welcome energy. On the other side of the sun and the moon at 20 degrees of Pisces is Saturn. Very different. Remember that boundary, that magical boundary that we've been speaking about. Also, when you think about lessons, when you think about grit and determination, and you think about obligation, you think about Saturn. So Saturn has been in Pisces for a year now, since March last year. And we're going to be working with that same energy for the next year. Neptune and Saturn will be leaving Pisces months apart. So when I look at this card, Pisces Rising, and I see the dog, I see Saturn represented there. When I look at the fox, I see Neptune. Two different guises, two different pathways that we can choose. Perhaps we can take a little from here and take a little from there. If it's magic that you believe in, Pisces Rising, I support that fully. And I hope that over the last year, you've been finding different ways to regulate some of those deeper, darker emotions, some of that fear, some of that agonizing empathy. I hope that Saturn has been some sort of mentor for you over the last year when coming to terms with the depths of your feeling. We can sometimes be benefited by choosing the path of the dog. We can sometimes need that leash. We need those commands, because left without that obligation, left without that container for your service, there's just too many pores on a Pisces. It's like you're like a beautiful sea sponge, and your energy can just dissipate in every single direction until you're left empty. But Saturn has been here for a year now, telling you that this is not your fate. That you are smart, Pisces Rising. That you do have the stuff to use that beautiful depth to the benefit of yourself and to everybody around you. But we're in second year uni. We'll be graduating next year, but there's more work to come. So hold on to that and look forward to Venus. On the 12th of March, there is going to be something that feels like protection coming for you, Pisces Rising. On March the 17th, the Sun will conjoin Neptune. So there'll be a spotlight on that magic. There'll be a spotlight on what is illusion and what is real, and what you believe or perceive to be illusion and to be real. So this will be a time for you to really trust yourself, but take a moment before you act, or take a moment before you sign off on that. Because remember, this is all some kind of test for you, Pisces Rising. On March the 20th, we enter into Aries season. The sun will move into Aries and will begin the new zodiac year. If you had a difficult time feeling like a page is turned at New Year's, that's okay. If you had a difficult time feeling that page turned at the Chinese Lunar New Year, that's okay too. Take this sun in Aries as your moment to start afresh, to get some new textbooks, some new workbooks, and to write everything down that comes to you and make a plan. Because this isn't about you stepping away from your magic, Pisces Rising. This is actually about you committing to it. If the astrology teaches us anything, there's rocky roads ahead. And so we need that boundary from Saturn. We need that container, and we need you to be as hopeful and magical and optimistic and empathetic as you always are, but without that need to throw it all away and to run. You've got to stay here, Pisces Rising. I beg you. On March the 21st, Mercury, now in Aries, in your second house of your values, your material access, will be conjoining, coming together with Chiron. So, as I said in all of the other horoscopes leading up to this point, this is the year to really unearth those wounds around your worth. You are worth so much, Pisces Rising. You're worth the ocean. And what you have to offer all of us is priceless. Let's figure out a way to put a price on it and to honor yourself. Because by getting down on yourself, getting on your own back and saying to yourself, oh, look, my mind is just too scatty. I can't focus on anything. Why do I invest all of my interest in this stuff that just has me in desperation, that has me crying out for, a semblance of support? That's a lifelong battle for your Pisces Rising, and it's okay, because at this point, Saturn is here to